Hi everybody, this is Ruben Soriano from Digital Dive, and today I'm going to bring you our first tutorial for our Drivable Cars series. In this video we will focus on how to mix our basic pack with your own project with some simple steps. Hope you enjoy it. So first thing I'm going to do is creating my own project that will simulate your own project. So let's go for a simple first-person template. And once it's open, we can click play, and you may want to check a couple of things. First of all, checking this input section. These will be all inputs that you created for your own game. So let's export it to make a backup. So go for this project folder. And let's export everything here. You will also need to import from basic pack physics and collision. So just in case you have already done something with your own collisions and your own physics in your project, you may also want to make this backup. This is not my case, so I will just make this input copy. And now we can also open our basic pack project. And once it's open, we may want to start by migrating its content. So let's go for Driveable Car Basic folder, right click on it and migrate. OK. And now we will migrate it to our new project folder. Here it is. You may know we want to migrate just to content folder. And once it's migrated, we may also want to export all those ini files I already told you. So let's go for project settings, input, export. We will export them here in a new folder named Basic Cars ini. This will be our input. Also, we will export collision in the same folder. I'm gonna copy this address, and we're gonna do the same in physics. Export. Let's go for this folder which I already copied, and let's save it. Alright, we are ready to go, so we can just close this project and go back to our first-person game. You will see that this brand new folder is created, the basic pack folder, and now we can already go for project settings, and let's start with the ones that I don't need it to backup. Let's go for physics, import, let's go for that folder, and physics, collision, import, same folder, and collision. And now, if we didn't have all these inputs, we could also import the one that we exported from basic pack. But if we do that, we will lose all our custom inputs. So we may now want to mix our input ini files, and for that it would be a good idea to just go back to our backups and change its names so we can easily recognize them. So let's copy paste. I want to keep my initial backup, and now I'm gonna name it FPS input, and also I'm gonna name Driveable Cars input, and I'm gonna open both of them, each one in its screen half, for example like this. So we have in our left side Driveable Cars input, and in our right side FPS input. So first thing you may want to do now is identifying all the mappings. So here you have action mappings and axis mappings. This is the configuration of your axis, which in this case you wouldn't want to modify, but I recommend you to separate per sections both axis and action mappings. In this case you will see that you have this jumping action name, which we also have in the basic pack over here. So what you need to do now is just copying the action mappings and the axis mappings that are not duplicated in your own project. In this case, to make things easy, I'm gonna just delete everything that may be duplicated here, like jump and reset BR. We have reset BR here and reset BR here. These are the action mappings. So let's copy all these action mappings below your original ones, and we're going to do the same with the axis mappings. I don't need to copy turn, rate, look at rate, turn, look up, move forward, move right, move right. I don't need these ones, as we already have them on our other project input. And tab. So now we have, I missed this reset BR, so now we have interact, handbrake, change camera, interact, MEK, interact, lights, and throttle, steer, throttle, steer, throttle, steer, throttle, throttle, steer, and throttle. So this is everything we need. Let's copy axis mappings below axis mappings. Remember, I missed this reset BR, and now this is our FPS input, which we're gonna save. We can go to our project again, and from project settings, input, we can now import our brand new input file. Here it is. And as you can see, we have all these new mappings over here. It would already work, but you may find some issues with collisions and physics. So it would be a good idea for you to just restart the project. Let's go for it. And once it's ready, you have everything almost set up to go. As you can see, you can still play, your inputs keep working, and now you may also want to include our car on the scene. For example, let's go for vehicles and this sedan car, and let's see what happens if I try to interact with it. As you can see, it doesn't interact with the car, nothing happens, and that's because we are using in our game a relation between DC game mode, DC player controller, and third-person character. So to make everything work, you would need to use our DC game mode and our DC player controller in your game. In case you have your own game mode and your own player controller with your own script, you may also want to mix them. There is quite an easy way to mix them, which I will show after the simple configuration. In case you can use our game mode and our player controller, just go to Project Settings, Maps and Modes, and here we will use our DC game mode, our DC player controller, and your character, which in this case should be first person character. And one thing you also need to do is just check that your world settings don't have a game mode override. If you have this game mode override, what we have just set on the project settings, we have no consequences on the game. So let's also change it to DC game mode, DC player controller, and first person character. We are almost ready, but there are still a couple of things that need to be done. To make it work, you may want to first of all go to your base car and go for this function, check char on door area. If you go for it, you will see all this section that is just showing or hiding the hint text that is shown. If you want to use it, you just would like to cast to your character instead of ours, and you may want to make some additions to it, but to make things simple, I will just delete this and connect this function to the rest of action. So now what we are gonna do too is going for our third person character again, and we will see here that we have can enter car and car reference. We will need those two variables in your character. So please notice that car reference is a wheeled vehicle variable type. So let's go for your first person blueprint. And let's create those two variables. First one was a boolean named can enter car, and the other one was car reference, and the variable type was wheeled vehicle. Object reference, let's compile, let's save, and now everything should be working. Let's see what happens. Door opens, the character disappears, and you can drive your car and get inside and outside of it. Okay, so now that everything is working, you may want to use your own game mode and your player controller. Maybe you have made your own blueprints and you have some actions there that you need to keep using. So let's see how we can mix our game modes and player controller with your own ones. To do so, I'm going to make a couple of blueprint examples here. First one would be a game mode. My game mode, and the other one would be my player controller. My player controller. So keep in mind that I created a game mode base here, and this is not what you want to do. Your parent class, in this case, to make it work, would be game mode, not game mode base. So I'm gonna just do this to be sure it works. And now, just to imagine that we have here some sequences, let's make a simple action. In this case, we could use a print string, and to know what's going on, we will print this is game mode, and I'm gonna do the same for the player controller. On the begin play, this is player controller. Let's compile everything and let's save everything. Let's see what happens if I use my game mode here and my player controller here. If I do this and I click play, I will see those two strings, but nothing else is happening. In fact, I don't even have my first person character. We could change it here. Default parent class, first person character. Now we will have our original game, but we have lost again the interaction with the car. We also have some errors here, don't mind them. And now what we're going to do is, remember that this is just to imagine that you are using your own blueprints, and what we're going to do now is coming back to DC game mode and DC player controller, and what we're going to do now is making them child blueprints from your game mode and your player controller. So here let's go for class settings and let's go to parent class and let's type my game mode here, and in DC player controller we'll do the same, and my player controller. This will keep your game mode and your player controller defaults, but the way we have made it, if we set it, we need to set this new game mode and this new player controller. Player controller is already fixed from the game mode. Now if we click play, we will see that our first message has disappeared. This is because on the begin play we have already some actions happening on our DC game mode. If you want to inherit your game mode scripts, you will need to right click on the begin play event and add call parent function. If you include this here, this is not needed on the in this case on the player controller because there is no begin play here, but if we wanted to do so, you would need to do the same here. So let's see what happens now. And as you can see, we have our game mode and player controller inheriting all actions from your own ones, and it works perfectly. Okay, so there is just one more thing to go, and this is fixing the physics of the game. If you drive now the car, you will see that it has no friction with the ground. And this is because we haven't assigned here a physical material. So let's go for it, and what I'm going to do here is creating a new material. And for this material, you can use whatever, but what is important to you is assigning here a Phyic material. In this case, you can use both dirt or asphalt. Whatever you use here will work if you already imported collisions and physics, especially physics. So now let's assign this material to the mesh, and now our car should be working properly. So this is it, guys. Hope you enjoyed it, and thanks for watching. Remember to rate our videos and subscribe for more.